my great pleasure to introduce the next project we'll be talking today about. But first of all, I would like to acknowledge again the traditional custodians of this land, the Render people, and also the communal people of the land where I come from, where I live and work. I come from Greece originally. Spent a lot of my professional life working in England and Scotland, and moved to Australia 3 years ago. And I've been very lucky and privileged to meet wonderful people and researchers and collaborate with them as part of the development of the HEAL network. I'd like to acknowledge Auntie Linda Ford, our Aboriginal lead researcher, together with Dr. Veronica Matthews from University Centre for Rural Health, our co-lead of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Health Steering Committee, and also emerging leaders, Supriya Matthew, great colleague and researcher here at the Menzies School of Health Research, and her colleague Elisa Stefanov. And also I would like to acknowledge my friend and colleague from a long time, Professor Clive Seibel, who's now at the University of Canberra, used to work in the UK and then Denmark later. Great collaborator and inspiring research leader. So without further ado, I would like to move on and present the CE4HEAL project. CE4HEAL stands for Clean Energy for Healthy Environments and Lives. And I would like to say this is a great example of what the HEAL network has generated in terms of research and collaborations. So that's a spin-off of the larger HEAL network, which comprises 100 investigators from 30 organizations from across Australia. And for this particular project on clean energy, we responded to a funding call by DFAT for proposals on international climate change partnerships. So the key international partner for this project is the Indian Institute of Technology in Madras. Now the city of Madras is called Chennai. It's in the south of India. And Clean Air Asia, which is a non-governmental, international non-governmental organization in Asia, very influential. We work very closely with the Indian colleagues to develop solutions for clean energy, sustainable solutions which improve energy provision, energy security and affordability, and also improve health and well-being for rural and remote communities, both in Central Australia and also in rural India. And of course, clean energy, managing fire is very important for Aboriginal communities. They've done that very sustainable and in a way that didn't damage the environment and health for thousands of years, as Auntie Linda explained. And of course, this is something we need to learn from and integrate into our Western science systems. The clean energy theme of this project fits very squarely into the framework of the Sustainable Development Goals. You can see here there are 17 goals, the UN Sustainable Development Goals, which provide targets for action at different levels, from local to national to international, around 17 goals, which need to be met by the end of this decade. So we're now in the decade of action, and action needs to happen, and it has to be evidence-based. So this is where we operate. This is what we're trying to do with the HEAL and CE4HEAL networks, to develop this evidence that will underpin actionable solutions in clean energy. And you can see here the specific goals which are relevant to CE4HEAL on affordable and clean energy, better health and well-being, climate change action, and also sustainable cities and communities. So the context of CE4HEAL is that we, both in Australia and in India, we have huge opportunities to generate clean energy. Very sunny countries, a lot of space to develop sustainable solutions and installations for solar systems in particular. However, these opportunities have not been fully realized and appreciated in the past. Obviously, there is a lot of rooftop solar in Australia, but there is much more potential. It can be a driving force for the transition to clean energy from a fossil fuel-based economy. It's important to note that many households in rural India depend on solid fuel. It's around 80% of rural households rely on solid fuel, biomass fuel for cooking, and this is very polluting. It's very polluting for the indoor environment, it's very polluting for the neighborhood environment, and it also deprives households, and especially the female members of the families, from opportunities and time to go to school, to work, to do other tasks which are much more beneficial for their health and well-being. They spend a lot of time picking up firewood or cooking in inefficient cook stoves, which pollute the environment and affect their health. In Australia, many remote communities, many Aboriginal communities rely on polluting and expensive diesel generators, as Auntie Linda pointed out earlier. This is unsustainable, obviously relying on a fossil fuel, which exacerbate climate change and also pollutes the environment in the vicinity of these generators. We'll talk about air pollution in the next presentation, but of course, the diesel generation is a concern, and we want to instigate and promote and focus on sustainable solutions for clean energy, mainly solar as part of this project. This map shows the diversity of the languages and the cultures in Australia, the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures. We've seen this slide many times in this festival, and I think what we want to highlight is the diversity, really, and the richness of the tradition, culture, and knowledge that Aboriginal communities bring to this debate about clean energy. There is progress, undoubtedly. This is an installation of rooftop solar Cape York Peninsula. There is an increasing uptake of solar installations in households across the country. One in 5 households in Australia nowadays have some kind of solar energy supply. And this picture is from the Desert Knowledge Australia Solar Centre here in Alice. We visited the centre yesterday. We were delighted to discuss with the CEO of DKA, Jimmy Cockings, about clean energy, and Jimmy will be on our panel later today. And of course, this is a great opportunity for Indigenous communities, for Central Australia, to capitalize on clean energy, capitalize on the business opportunities as well as the opportunities for developing technologies which are affordable, clean, and good for the environment and good for households. Moving to India, I would like to show you where our colleagues are based at. So they're based in the South India, in Chennai. You can see it here on the map, southeast coast of India. This is a place which is a very beautiful city, very diverse culture, and also, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of rural communities in the periphery rely on solid fuels. Unfortunately, our Indian colleagues couldn't come because of technical issues and the application process for their visas, which takes very long. We have some of their presentations. We'll show some of their slides. They might be able to join us online on Zoom to attend this meeting, and I would like to acknowledge their contribution: Professor Shivana Jendra, Professor Krishna, Sumitra, Sumik as well. We have a great group of researchers working on technical aspects of microgrids, clean energy, air quality, and also they work very closely with communities, developing art projects and school projects, promoting clean environments and lives in India. We're also very privileged to have in our group here in Australia 2 colleagues with the Indian background. Amelia, who organized the sessions today and chaired the morning session. Amelia Joshi, great colleague and rising star psychologist and great contributor to our projects, and also Dr. Supriya Matthews from the Menzies School. Both coincidentally, both Supriya and Amelia come from Kerala, which is in the south, just over there, a bit further south from Chennai. So there is a very nice connection to this part of this beautiful part of India through our colleagues here in Australia and our colleagues based at IIT Madras. And this picture highlights the project, the issue we have there with air pollution, with women carrying their young children, cooking for their family, using inefficient cook stoves, producing a lot, which generate a lot of smoke, which require a lot of firewood to cook their meals, and spend a lot of time exposed to the smoke, a lot of time cooking, a lot of time picking up firewood, and of course the whole family is affected by these emissions and this inefficient way of cooking. There's an issue with deforestation, of course, with many communities relying on local sources of firewood, and there is an issue with the opportunities for women in these communities, and also for educational attainment for kids which are affected by the smoke. Now, this is the context of the CE4HEAL network, which aims to promote clean energy. And we're trying to reduce the impacts of using solid and fossil fuels in rural and remote households, both in India and Central Australia. The project is focusing on communication and engagement. So we want to generate examples of good practice and promote them and publicize them. Identify specifically the barriers and enablers for increased adoption of clean energy solutions. And my colleagues, Veronica will talk about the literature review we've done in this space, and Supriya has done with a team with Lisa interviews with key stakeholders here in Central Australia. So we'll elaborate on these aspects, and of course the objective is to communicate these findings and identify the benefits, the environmental, economic, and health benefits of clean energy, and highlight those benefits in our discussions with stakeholders and policymakers. And of course, another important outcome of this project is to enable and instigate and strengthen bilateral collaboration with India and Australia, both important partners in technology development and clean energy solutions. The activities, as I mentioned, include engagement, like the event we're organizing here today, co-design and dissemination of culturally appropriate outputs, including promotional materials, artwork. We're going to commission some indigenous artwork and also some work in India to local artists. We're going to run school competitions for artwork and posters. And we're also going to provide some and develop policy advice, some tailored outputs, which are in the right kind of digestible format for policymakers. So it's a project which utilizes technology and knowledge and science to produce communication outputs and promotional outputs. We have many opportunities to have webinars and lectures. So this is not the full story today, but hopefully that provides a good taste and good overview of the project and what it aims to generate. We are building on a previous collaboration with the Indian team, which was a project called CEFA, Clean Environment and Planetary Health in Asia. So we have a long-standing collaboration with the colleagues in India and also with colleagues from Thailand, Malaysia, and China, working on clean environment and planetary health in Asia and obviously in the broader region. And this project has generated a lot of artwork and communication materials, and of course we had a lot of exchange of examples of good practice and exchange of expertise and knowledge. You can see here some of the artwork which was generated through the CEFA project, mural in Chennai, and some posters from a school competition in South India with beautiful posters. And as I mentioned earlier, this is something we're going to develop as part of the CE4HEAL project involving communities here in Central Australia. And I will finish by acknowledging our funders, the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and the International Climate Change Engagement Program. And of course, I acknowledge most importantly all the communities, all the collaborators, and all the researchers who are involved in this exciting research opportunity. Thank you very much for your attention.